Is it too bright?
It could be.
No one's here. Just me.
They'll be joining.
There. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Is it bad lighting though?
That's not great. Here, let me get you something so it gets up a little higher.
Somebody just woke up from a nap. This is our first live stream on here, so it's exciting. But I am very new to this. I've only done it on Instagram, so we're setting it so the camera's a little more up. But there.
Hi.
Now, there. Perfect. This is Sutton, my partner in crime. She can see herself, so she's probably very excited about that. But we had her on November 16th, and she's a great little buddy. So she hangs out with me all day, every day, all night, every night. She's my best little friend right now. So, but so today I am on here so that I can answer some of your questions about that you had on Instagram about postpartum recovery, birth, all of that. And I thought I would just start out. There was a lot of great questions, and I was very excited about what you guys had to ask, and I thought it was all very good. And if you didn't know, there's a blog post that's up on my blog right now that is all about my postpartum experience, and you can also see the story of her birth, like everything, if you are interested. And just so you know, the reason I did this was because after I had our son, I felt like it was I felt like I needed to just get back to it, running a business and everything, being a new mom. I thought, I just need to get back to doing all these things that I see everyone else doing, like I get back to working out within 6 weeks, like all of that. And what it resulted was that I ended up getting sick, and I had a lot of postpartum anxiety. I just was really struggling. And granted, the first year of motherhood in general is incredibly hard. And I don't know many women who wouldn't say that, unless you are just somebody that it comes very natural in a different way too, or there's a lot of reasons maybe, but I felt like it was the hardest thing, and I didn't acknowledge that well. And I didn't connect that. I didn't see an example of like that I could understand of like, I can just get back to life as it was. And I thought that that's what everyone did. And so when I wasn't doing that and I was struggling, I felt like, I am, what am I doing? Like I'm failing at this. So I wanted to talk about this more openly, not because I'm obsessed with birth or with motherhood, or this is a continued conversation that I want to have, but because I want to set an example for other women that it can look differently. My hope is that many of you that maybe you're a first time mom might see that like, I can actually take it slow and it's okay. And I should do that. And I should acknowledge my feelings, and I should talk about them with my partner, and I should feel support and feel like this is okay. And so that's the main reason I want to do this. So if you're curious, that's why. And so I'm just going to go through some of these questions with you guys and that you had. And it was really funny because the Ask Me Anything thing on Instagram actually got like hacked or something. I don't know, but I got a bunch of really weird questions that had nothing to do with this, and they were really random accounts. So I just had to say that because I thought it was funny. But so I'm just going to start from the bottom. First of all, there were a ton of questions about sleeping. So let me answer you this. Sleeping is an extremely personal thing, not just to a family, to the mom, to lifestyle, to all sorts of things, but also to the baby, I can attest that babies are very different. My son barely slept longer than hour to 2 hour stretch in the first 6 months of his life. And then we went down to every 45 minutes. And then by 10 months, he finally did 6 hour stretches out of nowhere. We did all sorts of things. I tried everything. Nothing worked. So, but then this one, she does a 5 hour stretch in the middle of the night. I'm not doing anything different. And so babies are extremely different. I don't know why. I'm not a professional in that. So I am not the person that's going to answer that for you. When it comes to co-sleeping, all of that, they're all extremely personal things. So, and I don't want to get into that because I think that that is for professionals to figure out. And it's not something that I think I'm appropriate to talk about. So all I can say is do your research, figure out what feels best for you and best for your family, and just trust your gut and your heart and everything. You know what's best as a mom. So I think you do what feels best. And there's safe ways to do things. There's unsafe ways. So just figure out what works best for you. And I think that's the best way to go about talking about sleep. And just so you know, our sleep is daily different. Like our 3-year-old still sometimes wakes up in the middle of the night, so you just, it's not, there's no secret weapon. That's what I've learned. So that's to address all the sleep questions we got. And then, okay, so it says, how did you set the expectations you would be in your bed while your mom or mother-in-law were there? So I thought this was a really good question because every mom and mother-in-law is different and your experience is different. So I think with them, and your relationship's different. So my thing is that it's about setting clear expectations and just saying like, here's why I'm doing this. I would love for you to be a part of this time with us and be loving and considerate. And hopefully if they're great, you have a great relationship with them, then I would say they probably are going to understand. And I have a very wonderful mother and I have a very wonderful mother-in-law. And they both were very understanding of what I wanted to do. And they were willing to do whatever they could to help make that happen for me. And so I think the best thing that you can do is just to be very clear. And if they are not interested in that and they just want to hold your baby and not be a part of that situation, then I would say, hold off on bringing them into the situation. And maybe instead you have a friend or a sister or a cousin or a neighbor or somebody you're close with that will respect that. So they may not be the right person if that's the situation. So hard conversations, but just having clear boundaries is the most important thing. So next question. So this was from my friend who's about actually to have a baby, and we actually texted about this, but she asked, did you do perineal massage to prevent tearing? And I was like, I don't know, maybe I don't want to talk about this, but because it's a pretty personal thing, but I did it with my son pretty religiously and I still tore, but I had a Pitocin labor. So there's no controlling those contractions, and my midwife did it best she could to help. And it was a very minimal tear, but it was still a tear. So I don't know if it makes a lot of difference because I didn't do it with my second with her as much, and I still tore in the same spot. So, but tearing can be really challenging to overcome, and it can be really simple and straightforward. But I would say you just kind of have to give it a go if you want to, if you feel comfortable with it. Or if you have a really good doctor or midwife, they should be able to help you. But most of the time, like most tears are pretty minimal and it happens in a natural line with your skin versus an episiotomy that is like cut. And so I would say that it's like, I felt like I recovered from it pretty quickly. So I would like within 10 days, everything felt normal. It stings a little bit, but, and it can feel a little like heavy down there and swollen, but then it pretty much clears up pretty quick. So I would say it just depends on what you feel comfortable with and what you don't. So that's my honest opinion. And let's see. Somebody said, how do you deal with postpartum anxiety in a holistic way? So I did have postpartum anxiety quite intensely with my first, and I didn't really know what was going on, to be honest. And so I just kind of kept with it and tried to figure it out, and which was a terrible way to do it. So I don't suggest that. But I did talk to my husband a lot about it, and he tried to help me as much as I could. But I really wish that I had sought more options. And a lot of my girlfriends, tried to do holistic things, and they did end up using pharmaceuticals to help. And so I think you have to figure out what works best for you, obviously. But, and there's lots and lots of options. I would say the best thing that you can do from a holistic standpoint is maybe look into acupuncture. It does help with anxiety. And for me, that's been the best thing. I go 2 times a month, and it is like my self-care, and I highly suggest it. One, because you get to relax quietly for 45 minutes. And if you have a partner or a friend or a parent that can watch your baby for a while, I would definitely suggest taking that time for yourself. It's like the only thing that I really do alone right now. And I think it's the best thing. It helps me sleep well. It helps me. It relieves a lot of that. But I think when you have anxiety, the best thing to do is to address it and try to nail down what is bringing you anxiety. So like, let's say you're nervous about the flu. Okay. I think there's a very real anxiety. I have that anxiety daily, and we have a 3-year-old coming in and out of the house, and, she can't have a flu shot. So that's scary. There's kids die from it. So it's a scary thing. Address that. Be honest with yourself. Like, I'm struggling with this, and talk to your partner about it. Talk to a friend, talk to a parent, anyone who is supportive of you. But having those people around you that you can just openly be like, I have this really weird anxiety. I have a weird anxiety that she's going to vomit. I have a weird anxiety she's going to get fever. Anything, whatever it is, just have somebody you can talk to about it. That's the first thing. If you're still struggling and you can't figure out where the anxiety is coming from, I highly suggest talking to your doctor, maybe thinking about counseling, things like that, to just give you some extra support systems. And that's the best place I would say to start. But those are the things that have helped me. And sleep helps too, but that's hard to come by. Okay, so the other question was, what's your approach on dealing with postpartum body image and being confident in the different you? This is a hard one, isn't it? Like, I think we have these real expectations on life or unreal expectations of what our bodies are going to be like postpartum. We think, oh, we're going to get back to working out. We're going to get back to all these things. Life is going to be easy. 6 to 8 weeks pass. We go to our postpartum appointment and we're told, oh, everything's normal. Go for it. Or we're told, nope, it's going to be a while. And that for various reasons. And I will tell you that it is really hard. But I will also tell you that every woman's body is different. And so I will say that it took me over a year, and I didn't work out much, I will be honest, because I had some pelvic issues, and I had to rebuild everything in there. And I would say that it's all about looking at yourself and acknowledging the work that your body just did. One, okay, it just built a human, and it grew an extra organ, and then you delivered this, 5 to 10 pound child, whether it was through vaginal delivery or C-section. That is a feat. It is a major thing in your life. And to think that our bodies just come right back is crazy. The other thing is if you're breastfeeding, your body has all these different hormones in it. And so don't you remember going through puberty and there was like that awkward stage where your body was weird? So you got to acknowledge that like your body's going through a ton. So even if you don't feel totally yourself, which I just now like finally can wear a pair of jeans that I wore at the beginning of my pregnancy, but I can't fit into anything else. at all. Like it's all still not there. And I still have a belly and I have an ab separation that I have to heal and all of that. So I'm trying to look at myself and be like, okay, you're still going through all this. You're only, 11 weeks postpartum. There's nothing that should make you feel like you should be back to yourself right now. So I'm just looking at myself and thinking of all the positive things that I am going through, like things that I am very proud of myself about and that maybe don't have to do with my body image. And instead looking at myself and being like, wow, I'm feeding her, even though my whole chest is very different than it normally is. But my skin's great. And because I'm drinking so much water and I have all these glowing post-pregnancy hormones that are still going on that are wonderful. And sure, I'm losing hair, but you know what? My hair is still great. And, it still does what it did. And my belly's soft, but there's a lot of parts of me that are still the normal me. And I also trust my body enough to know that in like a year or so, it's going to come back to something that will be more familiar. It won't be the same, but it will be something that will be more familiar. And so I think you just got to look at yourself every day and find something really great about yourself, whether that's a physical trait or that's a personal trait or successes, and just try to look at yourself positively instead of negatively in every way possible. Okay, somebody said, how long did you stay away from the computer? I stayed away from it for about 3 to 4 weeks. I think I jumped on to do something for Christmas. I had to order something. But for work reasons, I did not get on my computer for at least 5 weeks. I think I finally started answering. There was a couple emails, but since Mike and I worked together, Mike answered many of those emails that we had. So I really stayed away and I felt like it, there's Sutton. If you're just coming on, that's how long I stayed away. And I highly suggest that. Okay. But I will say, I did watch like TV and stuff. Like I don't normally watch a lot of TV, but I saved some things that I really wanted to watch, like The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and the Downton Abbey movie. I watched that and The Crown. So clearly I have a thing, but but I saved all those things to watch when I was postpartum. And that was the only time I really sat in, but I had our iPad and I just watched it because we only have one TV or 2 TVs, but one that I would actually sit and watch anything on. Okay. So talking about exercise, this one was, when have you started exercising? And I thought that this was a really great question. The answer is no, in a very short, quick response. I have not started exercising in the way that I would say I would like to. I don't plan to cross-country ski this year. I do not plan to downhill ski this year. Very sad, but I think it's best for my body that way. But what I did was I held off. I went to my 6th week. She checked everything. She said, yep, you're moving right along in terms of your pelvic floor coming back. But I knew and trusted and knew my body well enough to know that I still needed to go to a pelvic PT. So I went to my pelvic PT this last week, and she did like a, muscular skeletal exam. And I wanted to make sure everything was good. We set some goals, and the goal is basically that by 5 to 6 months postpartum, I should be able to maybe start doing some light, weight work, things like that. So for now, I'm focused on rebuilding my core because I have a 2-finger diastasis and like a teardrop diastasis, I think that's actually how you say it, in my abs, and which is quite good. And considering, and then I have my pelvis is still shifting some, and so, but the problem is that we think at 6 weeks we're able to just jump back into working out. And the truth is we're not. I think you got to focus on things that bring your abs back in and you bring your pelvic floor back in, and focusing on those things can do a lot in terms of healing your body and bringing your body back to a shape that's going to be more familiar to you. And it's amazing what even the past few days have done to my body of just doing the exercises that she suggested for me to do daily. And it takes 5 minutes, and I can do them when she's on the floor doing tummy time or whatever else, you do with babies at this age. So I suggest, if either looking into something like pelvic PT at this stage to help you build out like a program for yourself, or there's like the Bloom method, things like that, that they talk about helping you bring back your muscles and rebuilding your core and things like that in a way that's safe for postpartum, because you have to remember you still have relaxin in your body, especially if you're breastfeeding. All those hormones are still in there. So you don't want to get right back into it unless you feel like you and your doctor have agreed that it's something that you're okay with. And I just have like an intense fear of like really ruining my pelvis. And after my last experience of not realizing I had a 3-finger diastasis and my pelvis was kind of coming apart and I was in a lot of pain. So, and I went and worked out. Like I went and did Kayla Itson's workouts like I was doing before. That was not a good idea. That was a very bad idea. So this time around, I was not going to do that. And I have complete empathy for my body that it needs time to heal. And I need to give it at least 6 to 9 months before I even like really go into that. So my goal is summer to be able to like do workouts like I would like. But for now, it's just walks and the movements that my pelvic PT gave me. And I'm really okay with that. It gives me something to do, but not, and feel like I'm succeeding, but it's not anything that's going to be harmful. In fact, it's going to be really good for me. So I highly suggest that. Somebody asked, I didn't take care of myself postpartum, jumped back in too soon. Anything I can do now years later? There's actually a book, and I have not read it, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. And it's called the Postnatal Depletion. And I would suggest looking into that, because like I said, I haven't read it, but I've heard that it's from like, for like postpartum, like where I'm at, to like, 3 years down the road, 6 years down the road, 7, 11, like if you've had a child, basically, it may be of interest to you to check out. Okay, those were all the ones that I got through that question, but I had a few more that came in through DMs, so I wrote them down. Okay, so somebody asked, how does this work in the summer? Because a lot of the, like they were asking, there's all these warming recipes that I suggested in the first 40 days, and they talk about it in the 4th trimester book. I don't know how it would work in the summer exactly, but I think the main thing to think about with, if you are in the summer, is that the warming dishes are really about like helping your digestion. Like after you've, she's still sleepy, poor thing. But you want to make sure that, so your digestion is very slow. So you want to eat simple, like easy to digest foods. That's the main thing. When we eat raw foods, it takes a lot more for our bodies to digest them. So even if you're in the middle of the summer and a cool dish sounds good, maybe think about instead of eating it completely raw, but maybe like steaming them or blanching them, or just giving them a little bit of heat to break them down some. And if you want smoothies, just maybe drinking them at room temperature instead of super cold. Things like that. It's easier we have to use less energy. If an item is cold, our body has to like heat up that food to digest it. It's a very odd thing, but that's part of it. And the other thing is like every culture pretty much has something about warming dishes and postpartum, and a warming of the body postpartum. They talk about it. She talks about it in the first 40 days. So if you're interested at all, I would highly suggest buying that book and getting it and using it for, sorry, I got this one here. Using it for understanding all of this. A lot of it's based in Chinese medicine, in the concept of that we've lost blood. So our bodies are cooler, even if it is the summer. I would say it's probably a lot easier to heal in the summer because you already are very warm. So I would think about that if you're having a summer baby. But it's all about like these warming dishes that help um, ignite our digestion, ignite our blood flow, ignite all of that for healing and for easier um, digestive work, we'll say. It makes those first poops more comfortable. So I cannot explain the difference of eating the way I did the first time around to this time around and how much more comfortable all of that has been. And so I would highly suggest looking into it and reading that book if you're at all want to get into like the theories of it all. Somebody else asked, what did you bring in your hospital bag? I thought this was a great question. And so I actually was going to write a post, but then I realized I did write a post with our son and I went back and updated it all. So I will link to it, but it is, if you're curious, just go on our blog and search hospital bag and it will pop up. So everything's in there. All the links are updated. If you're interested, it's all there. So the other thing that somebody asked, and I thought this was a really good question, actually came from a really good friend of mine, and she used some choice words, and I love you, Jen. And she said, "How the F did you even accomplish this during this last few weeks?" And I thought this was a wonderful question because the last thing I want to do is to create a falsehood of what it is like to work with a baby and create things and get back to work, especially when you work for yourself or you don't. Even if you're just getting back to an office job or a corporate job, like it is a lot to have a baby around because you're losing sleep, you're not yourself. So I thought her question was wonderful. First of all, I thought this exact same thing when Hayes was born and I was trying to get back to work. I couldn't. Like I was like, my brain was fried, everything was fried. It was just, I was done in and I couldn't work. It was very hard for me when I got to the 6 to 8 week point. I thought I'd get back to it and I couldn't. That's another story for another day. But but with her, it's been very different. And I actually sleep at night. She's a good feeder. We're very consistent about things. She's a pretty chill kid so far. So that can all change in a blink of an eye. We all know that if you're a mom. So I did what I could, but I also was planning and writing a lot of this. I was writing the recipes while I was postpartum. So I would just like have an Evernote on my phone and I would just, if I told Mike to make something or I came up with something, I would send it on to him and I had to tell him what to cook and how to do it. And then once I got back to cooking, I slowly tested all those recipes myself, probably at like 4 weeks. And then I was writing it all down. So then when I was like pulling it all together and I was like, oh, maybe I'll make this a blog post. And Mike was suggesting to me that we think about it a little different. And he actually designed the whole thing, helped me come up with the strategy of it all. And he's been working on our rebrand for everything. So I am not alone in this. So I will say that first of all. The other thing is my son's at school 5 days a week. So he's at school from like 9 to 2:30-ish. So, or 3-ish. I leave at 2:30. And so I don't have a second at home on top of that during the week. So as I'm getting back to work, as I talk about my Instagram post today, I have like the 45-minute to hour blocks. I get done when I can get done when she's asleep. And then that's it. And Mike's helped me fill the gaps and kind of pull together all those things. And we just kind of tag team together and work together to make sure that like I have time to work, he has time to work. And that's how it all happened. I don't think that that's a real reality with every baby. I think that with our son, we never could have done that. And so I don't want you to think, I think you got to take everything at your own pace. If you're not there yet, don't worry about it. Like it's okay. And I think what I've learned over the past like 3 years that I've kind of slowed down on my work. And now as we close, like once we get through this first year and everything, we plan to kind of ramp up more and more with work and me getting back to work. I've learned that it's okay to do things at your own pace. I had a lot of insecurity about that, and I don't have that anymore, that I can do things when I feel like I'm capable of it and then take breaks, and that's okay too. So I just want you all to know that like that's our reality on the other side, but I've also had the other reality, and both are okay, and those were the paces we had to go at different points. So I just don't want you to think that I was like at home and I just like hammered all that out. I created this whole thing really quick and really fast. I didn't. It was well planned over 6 to 8 weeks, and then I had help designing it and executing it with Mike. So I was not alone, and it did not happen in just a matter of a week. And things take more time than that, and I left time for it. So those were all the questions, and I just wanted to go through all those, and hopefully you guys found this helpful. I plan to do more of these where I can sit and talk with you guys on live here. She's getting frustrated with me. And because I think it's a lot more helpful because I can also save them so you guys can refer back to them if you can't watch them. But they will be on at noon on Fridays. So if I ever say to you, we have questions, if you have a question that I'm going to cover that week, this is where I mean I'm going to be covering it. So you can always comment. You can chat with me during these lives, which is awesome. There's a comment bar. So just type in there if you would like to. If not, you can always DM me on Instagram. I love chatting with all of you, but I may sometimes say like, we're going to answer this question in an AMA on Friday. And so just check in and you can see the answer here. So this just kind of helps streamline everything. You know, I got her and I have our son. I only have a certain number of work hours. So I want to be respectful both of you guys and being present with you guys, but also making sure that I'm present with our kids. And so there will be different topics that we'll be covering. You know, we'll be talking about our mudroom. We'll be talking about low waist stuff this year. So just check in, and I'll probably see you more on Fridays. Okay, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you maybe next week.